Xiaomi's updated SU7 has arrived, and honestly, it's a more substantial refresh than most people probably expected. The 2026 model touches almost everything: safety hardware, driving assistance, interior quality, chassis tuning, and while the starting price has gone up to 219,900 yuan, around 31,870 USD, the increase is only about 4,000 yuan over the outgoing version. For what's been added, that's a pretty modest ask. Perhaps the biggest story here isn't any single feature, but rather a decision about how the trim structure works. With the previous SU7, buyers who wanted the more advanced hardware had to move up the range, which is how most automakers operate, keeping the good stuff as an incentive to spend more. Xiaomi has flipped that approach for 2026. LiDAR, a 4D millimeter wave radar, and the NVIDIA Thor U compute platform are now fitted to every single variant, regardless of price point. The Thor U chip alone is worth paying attention to. It puts out 700 TOPS of processing power and forms the backbone of Xiaomi's HAD driver assistance system. Seeing that hardware standardized across the lineup rather than locked behind an upgrade is genuinely unusual in this segment, and it tells you something about the direction Xiaomi is pushing. Power delivery comes from the V6S Plus motor across the board. Standard and Pro trims are rated at 235 kilowatts, which is more than adequate for a family sedan, while the Max version climbs to 508 kilowatts for those who want something with a little more urgency. Battery options are equally varied. There's a 73 kilowatt-hour lithium iron phosphate pack, a 96.3 kilowatt-hour LFP option, and a 101.7 kilowatt-hour ternary lithium battery at the top. Translated into real-world terms, those correspond to CLTC range estimates of 720 kilometers, 902 kilometers, and 835 kilometers. The charging architecture spans 752 volts to 897 volts depending on which variant you're looking at, and Xiaomi describes the platform broadly as 800-volt class, though the actual voltage rating differs by trim. Dimensionally, nothing has changed. The SU7 still stretches to 4,997 millimeters in length with a 3,000 millimeter wheelbase, keeping it firmly in large sedan territory, despite its sleek fastback silhouette. The exterior revisions are functional rather than expressive. The front end has been redesigned around radar integration, and the rear gets a marginally wider tire footprint. There's no dramatic visual overhaul here, which seems intentional. The SU7 styling was already one of the things that made it stand out, so leaving it largely intact makes sense. The interior is where you feel the most change day to day. Xiaomi has worked through the cabin materials and interface layout, and the overall impression is noticeably more refined. The centerpiece is a 16.1-inch central display, flanked by a 7.1-inch rotating instrument cluster and a heads-up display, all tied together through Xiaomi's Smart Cockpit software. Voice recognition has been expanded, and the multi-screen interaction system, which lets different displays in the cabin work together fluidly, has been improved. It's the kind of digital experience you'd expect from a company that built its reputation on consumer electronics, and it shows. The cabin doesn't feel like an afterthought. Safety engineering has been taken seriously here too. High-strength steel rated at 2200 megapascals is used in critical structural zones, and the car ships with 9 airbags. One detail that caught attention in Xiaomi's announcement was the triple redundant door unlocking system, which keeps multiple power backup pathways active so the mechanism continues functioning even in extreme scenarios. It might sound like a niche consideration until you actually need it, at which point it's exactly the kind of engineering decision you're grateful someone made. The battery pack has also been reinforced underneath, with additional protection and improved coating treatments to handle rough conditions. Ride and handling get a comprehensive rethink through the new Dragon chassis setup. Up front, there's a double wishbone arrangement, while the rear runs a 5-link configuration, a pairing that generally strikes a good balance between ride comfort and dynamic stability. Higher trims add dual-chamber air suspension with adaptive damping, plus a predictive control system that reads the road surface ahead and adjusts the suspension response in advance. A few years ago, that kind of technology existed almost exclusively in European luxury cars, costing 2 or 3 times as much. Competitively, the SU7 is going after the mid-size electric sedan market, and the Tesla Model 3 remains the benchmark everyone in this space measures themselves against. What Xiaomi is doing with the 2026 update is narrowing the differentiation within its own lineup. By making driver assistance hardware and high-voltage charging standard across all trims, the choice between variants becomes simpler. It's mostly about how far you want to go and how fast you need to get there, rather than which version comes with the better safety and tech package. Before this model arrived at dealerships, Xiaomi went through an unusual moment. Deliveries fell to just 218 units in February, a dramatic drop that might have looked alarming on a monthly chart. The reason was straightforward, though. The factory was being retooled to accommodate the 2026 model, which inevitably means pausing regular production for a period. It was a planned transition, not a sign that demand had dried up. Stepping back, Xiaomi's trajectory in the EV space has been genuinely striking. The company has crossed 600,000 cumulative deliveries within 22 months of entering the market, which is a pace that established automakers have taken notice of. The 2026 delivery target sits at 550,000 units, and the SU7 is expected to carry a meaningful share of that number. This refresh isn't just about staying current, it's about making sure the car that's doing the heaviest lifting in Xiaomi's lineup remains competitive in a market that moves faster than almost any other.